Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. I was curled up on the couch that night, half lost in a late-night show I wasn't even watching. The soft glow of the TV washed over the living room, and the quiet hum of the ceiling fan was the only sound besides the faint laughter from the screen. I thought he had gone to bed already. My husband always did when I stayed up like this. But then, without a word, I felt the cushion dip beside me. My breath caught. He didn't say anything at first, just sat there, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off his body. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the hint of a smile tugging at his lips. Then came the touch. A gentle brush of his fingers against my ankle, so casual it could have been accidental, but it wasn't. The contact sent a spark darting up my leg, stealing my attention from the screen entirely. "What are you watching?" he murmured, voice low, almost teasing. "Nothing," I replied, my voice quieter than I expected. Because suddenly, the show didn't matter at all. His hand lingered a second longer before sliding up, slow and deliberate, stopping just below my knee. The silence between us thickened, not uncomfortable, but charged, like the air before a storm. My heartbeat started to race, each thud louder than the TV. I shifted slightly, unsure if it was to move closer or pull away. I didn't get the chance to decide. Because in the next moment, he turned to face me fully. His eyes locked on mine, that deep, unwavering stare he gives me when he's thinking something I can't quite read. And then, with a smooth, confident motion, he reached forward and gently pulled my legs apart, settling himself closer, his gaze never breaking from mine. "Now I've got your attention," he whispered, his breath brushing against my ear. I swallowed hard, my pulse thundering. The room felt smaller, the air warmer, like we were the only two people in the world. The TV flickered, forgotten, as his closeness wrapped around me like gravity. I didn't know what he was planning, not exactly, but the way he looked at me promised that the night was far from over. And just as I opened my mouth to say something, anything, he leaned in closer, lips hovering a breath away from mine. They say comfort is the most dangerous thing in a marriage, and maybe that's what had quietly settled into ours. Somewhere between shared grocery lists and predictable routines, we had stopped surprising each other. Our love was still there, steady and real, but the spark that once made my heart race just from his touch, it had dimmed. And though neither of us said it out loud, we both felt it. Tonight felt different from the start. Maybe it was the way he watched me when he walked into the room, not just as his wife but as the woman he once couldn't keep his hands off. Or maybe it was because I had been thinking too much lately, wondering if he still saw me the same way. We'd had our share of silent dinners and small misunderstandings that turned into long nights spent on opposite sides of the bed. He buried himself in work, I busied myself with everything else. And in that quiet distance, unspoken questions grew. Did he still crave me? Did I still excite him? Or were we just two people sharing a life but no longer sharing ourselves? And then, there he was, inches from me on the couch, looking at me as if those questions had answers we'd both forgotten. His hand still rested on my leg, thumb tracing idle circles against my skin, a small, simple gesture, yet it made my breath hitch. "You've been distant lately," he said softly, breaking the silence. His voice wasn't accusing, just honest. "So have you," I whispered back. The corners of his lips curved, a bittersweet smile. I guess we both forgot how much we mattered to each other. That admission hung in the air, heavy and vulnerable. My chest tightened. It wasn't just about physical closeness, it was about everything underneath it, the words we didn't say, the glances we stopped giving, the touches we stopped initiating. And yet, right now, there was none of that hesitation. He shifted closer, our knees brushing. My heartbeat thundered as his fingers slid up, pausing just above my thigh, not crossing a line, but reminding me of every reason I fell for him in the first place. "You still make me crazy," he murmured, his eyes locked on mine. "Even when you're just sitting here, pretending not to notice me." A breathy laugh escaped me, breaking the tension just enough. Maybe I like watching you work for it. His grin widened, playful but charged with something deeper. Then maybe I'll work harder. And with that, the distance that had quietly grown between us seemed to shrink, inch by inch. There was no grand apology, no dramatic speech, just two people rediscovering each other through stolen glances, teasing touches, and the shared pulse of something we both still wanted. What would happen next, I didn't know. But for the first time in a long while, the question excited me. The more we talked, the more the air between us shifted, no longer heavy with silence, but pulsing with something deeper, something we'd both been holding back. Yet underneath the softness, there was a storm brewing. It wasn't just about love anymore. It was about all the things we hadn't said, all the nights we'd spent wondering if the other still felt the same way. His thumb traced slow, lazy circles against my thigh, but his eyes were sharper now, searching me, studying me, as if trying to read thoughts I hadn't spoken. "Do you ever think about someone else noticing you?" he asked suddenly, voice low but edged with something darker. The question startled me. "What do you mean?" He exhaled, leaning back slightly. "The way they look at you when we're out. Like they're wondering what it would be like to have you." His jaw tightened just enough for me to see it. "I see the way their eyes follow you." A flicker of heat shot through me, not guilt, but something dangerously close to satisfaction. "And how does that make you feel?" I teased, even though my heart was pounding. His gaze met mine, intense and unflinching. "Like I want to remind you you're mine." The words hung in the air, heavy and possessive, sending a shiver through me. But beneath the claim was vulnerability, a flash of fear he'd never admit out loud. That maybe he was afraid of losing me. That maybe, deep down, I'd wondered if I'd lost him too. I shifted closer, deliberately slow, and let my hand rest against his chest. "You don't have to remind me," I whispered. "But I wouldn't stop you if you tried." He drew in a sharp breath, and I felt the tension coil tighter between us. Every inch that separated us now felt like too much. And yet, neither of us moved, suspended in that charged space where jealousy and longing blurred into something intoxicating. I could see it in his eyes, the battle between control and surrender. One more breath, one more heartbeat, and we would cross a line that would change everything. And maybe, just maybe, we both wanted to. The air around us felt heavier now, too charged, too intimate to ignore. Every brush of his fingers against my skin was deliberate, every inch of space between us shrinking with a pull neither of us could fight. The TV still flickered in the background, but it might as well have been miles away. The world had narrowed to just him and me, a heartbeat apart, breath mingling in the charged silence. He shifted closer until our knees touched, and his hand slid higher, stopping just before the point where the air turned electric. My breath hitched. I could feel the tremor in his fingers, restraint fighting instinct, and it sent a ripple of anticipation racing through me. "Do you feel it too?" he whispered, voice rougher now, heavier. "Feel what?" I managed, though we both already knew the answer. "This, whatever it is between us tonight." I swallowed hard, my heartbeat loud in my ears. "It's always been there," I admitted, "we just forgot how to listen." His lips curved into a slow, knowing smile. "Then maybe we should stop forgetting." And with that, the last sliver of distance disappeared. His forehead rested against mine, our breath sinking, our eyes half closed but locked. The scent of him, the warmth of his skin, the way his thumb drew tiny circles against the inside of my thigh, it all tangled together until I could barely think straight. I tilted my head just slightly, and his lips brushed against the corner of mine, not a kiss, not yet, but enough to make my entire body ache for more. My hands slipped up to his chest, feeling the quick, steady rhythm of his heart under my palm. Time slowed. The room seemed to hold its breath with us. "I don't want to stop," he murmured, so quietly it was almost a plea. "Then don't," I whispered back. His gaze deepened, something wild and tender flickering behind it. And just as he leaned in, closer, closer, a sudden sound shattered the silence, a soft knock at the door, unexpected and out of place. We froze, breathless, inches apart, and the night hung on the edge of something neither of us could turn back from. The knock at the door cut through the charged silence like a blade. We both froze, breath caught mid-air, faces still inches apart. My heart thudded so loudly I was sure he could hear it. For a second, neither of us moved, as if stepping away would break the spell we had wrapped ourselves in. "Are you expecting someone?" I whispered. He shook his head, eyes narrowing toward the door. "No," another knock, firmer this time. My pulse raced. The night had been about rediscovery, about two people trying to find their way back to each other, but now, something else was creeping in. Something unknown. "I'll get it," he murmured, pulling himself up reluctantly. The warmth of his body left me as he walked toward the door. I hugged my knees to my chest, trying to steady my breath, but the unease wouldn't leave. When the door swung open, everything shifted. "Hi. I know I shouldn't be here." The voice, soft, hesitant, belonged to someone I recognized. My stomach dropped. Standing in the doorway was Mia. My friend. My best friend. "What are you doing here?" I blurted out, rising from the couch. Mia's eyes darted from me to him, guilt flashing across her face. I needed to talk to you both." The way she said both made my chest tighten. And then I saw it, the flicker of something unspoken in my husband's eyes when he looked at her. It was quick, gone in an instant, but it was enough. My breath hitched. "What's going on?" He didn't answer right away. The silence was deafening. Finally, he sighed and turned toward me, the weight of something heavy in his gaze. "There's something I haven't told you." Mia stepped forward, voice trembling. "It was a mistake. It shouldn't have happened." The room tilted. My heart pounded as the truth crashed over me. Them. Together. The suspicion I had brushed aside, the distance I had blamed on routine, it all suddenly made sense. "I swear it meant nothing," he said quickly, stepping toward me. "It was one time. Before we started fixing things. Before tonight." Tears stung my eyes, anger and heartbreak colliding in my chest. "And you thought tonight would make it better?" I choked out. "I thought tonight could be a new start," he pleaded. "Because I never stopped loving you. I made a mistake, a terrible one, but I want us more than anything." Mia's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry," she whispered before slipping back out the door, leaving the two of us in the wreckage of her confession. The room felt colder now, yet beneath the storm of betrayal and rage, the pull between us still burned. That was the most confusing part, that even now, part of me still wanted to reach for him. "Tell me the truth," I said, my voice shaking. "Do you still want me, or was I just the one you settled for?" His answer would change everything. And in that moment, suspended between heartbreak and desire, I wasn't sure which one I was more afraid of. Silence. That's all that followed after Mia slipped out the door, a silence so thick it felt like the walls themselves were holding their breath. My heart hammered in my chest, but I didn't move. Neither did he. We just stared at each other across the living room that, moments ago, had been filled with warmth and stolen glances. Now, it felt like a battleground. "I should have told you," he finally said, his voice breaking the stillness. "I should have told you the moment it happened." "You think?" I snapped, the tremor in my voice betraying the storm inside me. "Do you know what it feels like to sit here, thinking we were finding our way back, and then find out this?" He winced, taking a cautious step closer. "I never wanted to lose you." I panicked. I was stupid and selfish. And it was over before it began. "Then why didn't you tell me?" I asked, tears blurring my vision. If it meant nothing, why keep it a secret? Because I was afraid, he admitted. Afraid you'd walk away. Afraid that one mistake would erase everything we built. And maybe I didn't want to face the truth, that I had already hurt you, even before you knew. The raw honesty in his voice cut through my anger like a knife. It didn't erase the betrayal, but it cracked something inside me, the wall I had started building the moment Mia's words left her lips. I turned away, wrapping my arms around myself. Do you even understand what you've done to us? Yes, he whispered, stepping closer still. I destroyed the trust you gave me. And I'll spend every day trying to earn it back, if you'll let me. I closed my eyes, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to scream, to throw everything we'd built away and never look back. But another part, the part that remembered every quiet morning, every laugh, every late-night confession, whispered that maybe this wasn't the end. When I turned back to him, he was standing just a breath away, his eyes searching mine for an answer. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said honestly. Not tonight. Maybe not for a long time. He nodded, swallowing hard. I'll wait. However long it takes. I'll fight for you. The words hit deeper than I expected. They didn't erase the pain, but they planted a fragile seed of something else, hope. I stepped closer, not enough to close the space between us, but enough for him to see that I hadn't walked away. Not yet. This doesn't mean we're okay, I whispered. It just means I'm still here. His eyes softened, relief and remorse swirling together. Then that's more than I deserve. And I'll prove I'm worth staying for. And in that fragile, trembling moment, with love and anger tangled in the same heartbeat, the path forward wasn't clear. But for the first time since the knock on the door, it felt possible. The hours that followed were quiet, the kind of quiet that comes after a storm. I sat by the window long after the TV had gone dark, watching the night sky stretch endlessly above the city lights. I didn't know how long he had been standing behind me, but I could feel his presence, steady, patient, afraid to move too close but unwilling to leave. I made tea, he said softly, holding out a mug like it was an olive branch. I took it without a word. My hands brushed his, and that single touch sent a ripple through me, a reminder of everything we still were, despite everything that had happened. I don't know if I'll ever forget, I whispered. But I think I want to try. His eyes softened, a storm of relief and regret swirling within them. Then I'll spend the rest of my life giving you reasons to remember why you fell in love with me in the first place. We stood there in silence, the weight of his words sinking into the space between us. And then, something shifted, something small but powerful. I took a step closer. Then another. Until the warmth of his body was right there again, just inches away. Do you remember the first time you kissed me? I asked, glancing up at him. His lips curved into a bittersweet smile. I was terrified. You were laughing, and I almost backed out. And I pulled you closer, I murmured. Because I didn't want you to. The memory washed over us, softening the edges of the pain still lingering. He reached out then, not with urgency, but with reverence, his hands cradling my face as if I were something fragile but worth holding on to. Can I try again? He asked, his voice trembling. I nodded. The kiss that followed wasn't desperate or heated. It was gentle. Careful. A promise whispered through touch, not to erase the past, but to build something stronger on top of it. My chest ached as tears slipped free, but for the first time that night, they weren't from anger. They were from hope. When we finally pulled apart, our foreheads rested together, breaths mingling in the quiet. This isn't the end of us, he said. This is the beginning of a new version of us. One where I never take you for granted again. I smiled through the tears. Then let's start over, right here. And as we stood there, wrapped in the warmth of forgiveness and the promise of a second chance, the night no longer felt heavy. It felt alive, like love rediscovered, fragile yet unbreakable. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. And that was enough.